Hey everyone, so today's video I wanted to do a contour and highlighting tutorial. I get asked quite a lot of questions by my friends who watch these videos about contouring and about baking, so I thought I'd do an entire video sort of dedicated to it. I'm not a professional makeup artist, this is just something that I enjoy doing, so everything that I do is just from personal experience. If you want to find out how I cream contour, powder contour, highlight and bake, then please just keep watching. So I've just applied my foundation. I used the L'Oreal Nude Magic Cushion Foundation. For contour, I'm going to use the cream shade from the L'Oreal Infallible Sculpt Contour and Highlighting Palette. And then I'm just going to highlight with concealer. I'm not a huge fan of the highlight shade in the palette for some reason. I just find that using concealer works so much better and it lasts so much longer. I'm going to highlight first just because that's what I prefer to do, and I'm going to use my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. This is in the shade 10. Apparently 15 is lighter than 10, and I bought 10 because I thought it was the lightest one. So next time I pick one up I'll probably get the shade 15, and I'm going to add some lightening drops just to lighten it up slightly. These are the shade adjusting drops from the Body Shop. I'm just putting some of the concealer on a clean surface. I'm not using too much concealer because obviously when I add the lightening drops it will make it into more product. So I'm just going to take some of these, and I'm not going to add too much because I don't want it to be too light. Add 2 drops to it. Before you contour your face, what I do is I just look straight into the mirror and just take a good look at your face. I know that probably sounds like quite a stupid thing to do, but you need to understand the features of your face and what you want to change before you can go ahead and contour. If you don't feel like you need to contour, you know, certain parts of the body like your nose or something like that, then you don't need to do it, especially if you don't wear a lot of foundation. A lot of the reason why people do contour is because when you've put foundation on, your face is one colour and it tends to just make it look a bit more flat. I'm going to start off by highlighting my face. And I'm just using, this is a pointed foundation brush from Real Techniques. You get this in the Core collection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right in the inner corner of my eye and I'm going to bring it down the side of my nose like that. And then I'm going to take it from the side of my nose up across my cheekbone to the side of my face like this. I bring mine down quite low just because I want this part of my face very lifted. And I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. I'm just going to fill in all of this, and I'm going to bring it up slightly as well. So I'm basically going to follow the line where my eyeliner went. I'm just going to highlight my chin as well, and I'm also I'm going to have a little gap, and then I'm going to have my contour here. And what I want to do is I want to carve out under where my contour is going to go. So you just want to go slightly above where your jawline is. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then I'm going to put some on my forehead because that forehead is quite small. So I like to just add a bit just to help open it up a little bit more. I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'm going to pop some right down the centre of my nose, and I'm going to make this bit into a ball. I think that my nose is a bit pointy, so it just helps it out a little bit. And then I'm also, just to make my lips look a bit pouty, I'm going to put some on my fulcrum and on my Cupid's bow. Like that. And you look a little bit crazy for a while, but that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the contour. I'm going to use a flat foundation brush for this. This is a Dior one, which I got for Christmas a few years ago, but you can use any flat brush. I just like to use this one. So I'm going to take some of the contour, and what I want to do is I want to find where my cheekbone is, and I just want to go ever so slightly below. So I'm just going to get my sort of initial line in like that, and then I can just thicken it up and deepen it up a little bit. If you want to give your cheeks more of a rounded look, you can round it out slightly, but I like to look quite sharp and defined. So I'm just going to take some and I'm going to go onto the other side, try and keep it as even as possible. Basically the contour is just creating a shadow, so you want to keep the line as thin as possible just to help it look as natural as possible. So the next thing I'm going to do is contour my chin. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush right to the edge of where my face sort of stops and then goes into my jaw, my neck, and I'm going to just bring the brush back like that. And then I'm just going to go around. And then for my nose, I'm going to use, this is actually a brow brush. I'm just going to take some of that contour shade. You want to make sure that you put the lines where you want your nose to look like it's starting to go down. Obviously my nose naturally starts to go down out here, so I'm going to bring the lines in just a tiny bit just to make it look slimmer. So I'm going to put it on the sort of edge rather than following where the natural sort of shadow is. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to go just following the edge of that contour, and I'm going to stop before I get close to where my nostrils start. And then I'm going to take the line and I'm going to go on the opposite side and again follow it where that is. And then I'm going to turn my brush to the side and I'm going to go across like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to take the brush, I'm just going to go under my nose just to help make it look a bit more round, so it doesn't look so pointy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to first blend out the highlight. So I'm going to start off just by blending out on my forehead. And as you can see, it's just helped open up my forehead just that tiny bit more, and it's given me the size that I actually want. I'm going to go right, and then I'm going to very carefully go down my nose and then further blend that. So I'm just going to blend my chin and then I'm going to blend it in here. And then I'm going to blend in my under eye area. It's just helped to brighten up the under eye area and just make it look really fresh and awake. And now for the contour shade, I'm just going to turn over my sponge and I'm going to use the bigger part and I'm going to blend this, but I'm going to blend it up, so only slightly, pushing the sponge up, and just keep blending it and buffing it in. And you can see it just makes such a difference to your face. It just stops your face from looking so flat and it just gives it that bit of extra life to it. I'm just going to keep buffing it in. Now I'm just going to go on the other side. You could use a brush for this as well, but I just find the sponge just helps absorb any excess product and blend it in. And then you can take the side of the sponge and just go in and just make sure that there's no harsh lines and everything's nice and blended. So for the nose contour, I'm going to use the pointy side just to first blend in this bottom bit. And then I'm going to take the corner of the sponge, very gently start pushing it in, just to first get rid of that bottom line. And then for this bit, I just first of all just push it very, I like to spend time blending out my nose contour because I feel like if you've got a bad nose contour, it's so obvious. And then I can take the sponge and just go over the line, and it just gives your nose so much more of a defined look. And sometimes what I like to do is just go back in with my brush that I had the highlight on, just because it has a little bit of product left. Just go through the middle. Finish by blending out my chin. So now that we've finished blending everything out, we need to set everything, and this is where I feel baking just really makes a difference. I use the Rimmel Match Perfection powder. I recently discovered this for baking and I absolutely love it. I think it does the job so well. I did used to use my sponge and now I'm using this. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get a bit of powder, so not a lot on the brush. I'm just going to press it right under my eyes because I just want to set the concealer first before I bake it, just so it doesn't move and it doesn't crease. If you find that your concealer creases instantly, then what you need to do is you need to look up, put your concealer on and then set it straight away, and it should help it with creasing. So I'm just going to put some under this eye. Now I'm going to bake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack on a lot of powder onto my brush. I'm not going to tap any off. So now what I do is I press the brush. I mean, look, it just puts so much powder on, which is exactly what I want. So I'm just going to press, keep picking up powder. And I'm first going to press it under my eye, and I'm basically going to go exactly where I put my highlight. I'm going to take it right up to the temple, like that. And then I'm going to do the same on my other eye. I'm going to leave that to set, and while I'm leaving it to set, I will just briefly explain baking and why people do it. So the idea behind this is that you pack on a lot of powder, and it almost stops your skin from breathing, and which is what helps it set. I just find that it helps it stay. It also helps to brighten it, because some of the powder will stay, we'll just be wiping off the excess. So that's why I do it. Another thing I love about this technique, you do this and then do your eyeshadow. If you get any fallout, you can sweep it away a lot easier without it ruining your makeup. Whilst I'm letting that set, I'm going to go on to powder contouring, and then I'm going to clean it up with baking as well. So the one thing that I think is important to remember when you're contouring with powder is it has to be matte. There's a difference between contouring and bronzing. Bronzing just warms up the skin. Something that you would use to contour is something like this. This is the Sleek Face Contour Kit in the shade Light. This is very inexpensive, and it's a completely matte contour colour. You also want to use something that's slightly cool toned, because obviously shadows tend to be more of like a grey. This can differ from skin tone to skin tone, because sometimes a cool tone bronzer can look very muddy on someone, so they have to use something more neutral. To start off with, I would use something that's cool toned or at least neutral. What I'm going to first of all do is I'm going to bronze my skin slightly, and I'm going to use my MAC Extra Dimension Skinfinish. I know you can't get this anymore, but the Makeup Forever Pro Fusion, I think it's called, bronzer, is a very similar thing. It has like a satin kind of finish rather than a completely matte finish. So I'm just taking it on this Real Techniques blush brush, and I'm just going to take it just very softly where I would contour, but slightly higher, so more onto my cheekbones. Because this is not shimmery at all, I can get away with this a bit more, but if it was something that was shimmery, I'd bring it up a little bit higher. But I just like to do this just to sort of give a little bit of warmth to my skin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to contour. And there's a few different types of brushes you can use. This is my favourite brush to use to contour. This is actually a contour brush from Real Techniques. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my brush into the product. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go where my, so I can feel with the brush where my cheekbone is, and I'm just going to go slightly below. And I'm going to go right to the back of my hairline, and I'm going to start by using sort of backwards and forwards motions, and I'm just going to use small circular motions just to make sure it's nice and blended, because I do not want a harsh contour. But as you can see, it just makes just a small difference, but enough where it just looks even more defined. If you go too low, don't worry, because in a minute I'll show you how we can fix that. So I'm going to keep going until it's as intense as what I want it to be. Obviously, if you do contour your sort of forehead as well, you would go here and here just to help narrow it down that way, and you'd go across the top of your hairline just to help bring it down slightly. So I'm just going to do the same on the other side. And then what you can do is you can take the brush that you used for bronzer and just I'll blend it out. If you feel like you've brought your contour down too much, you can clean it up with a bit of baking. So again, you just want to pack on some powder onto your brush. You just want to put it, you're basically going to put it where we put the highlight here, but you want to keep it as straight as possible. So what I normally like to do is just gently brush it onto my skin. So I focus most of the powder at the top of the brush, so it just cleans up the line of it. And then just to set my chin, well, because I tend to find I can sometimes get a little bit oily on my chin, just gonna pat it in. So then what I do is I'd leave this on, so maybe like move on to like your eyebrows or something like that. Just because I find the oilier you are, the longer I'd leave it on for. The thing I do is take a small fan brush and just gently start dusting away most of it. And then I take just a clean fluffy brush and go right under my eye. just to get rid of any powder from there. And as you can see, it just brightens it up so much more. I love baking. I will always do it. And then I don't like to leave this on for too long because I don't find that I need to leave it on for too long. I've mostly just used it, and as you can see, it's just given a nice crisp line. And I just take it and I also just blend everything together. The last thing that I do is just take like a stippling brush and I just gently brush over the contour just to make sure it's nice and diffused and there's no harsh lines. Finish off the routine, I'm going to highlight. This is definitely my favourite part of this. I'm going to use my favourite highlighter because I love this. And this is the Urban Decay highlighter in the colour Sin. If you've watched my videos, you would have seen me talk about this, you would have seen me use it, and I just love it. I'm going to be using the Morphe M510. I've been using this lately for highlighter, and I do really like to do is I'm going to take some of the highlighter on the edge of the brush, tap off any excess, and I'm going to go right on top of my cheekbones. And as I do it, I'm going to blend it in quite a lot because I don't want to look like I've just got a stripe across my face. So I'm going to take the brush, I'm just going to buff it over where my cheekbones are. I don't like to bring it down too much. It just adds a very nice subtle highlight. So you can be as subtle or as strong as you want. I like a fairly strong highlight, but there will be times when I need to tone it down a bit. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the side. If you've got a lot of texture on your skin and you don't want to emphasise it, I'd be very careful what highlight you use because it can emphasise large pores or anything like that. I'm also going to take some on the brush and just go right on my cupid's bow. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to just do it in like a ball on my nose. Like that. And then I'm going to skip about a finger's width distance. And then I'm just going to put some right on the top of my nose. Like that. And then I'm just going to take my brush that I used to sweep away the bacon, just to tone down under my nose. Like that. If you want to emphasise your highlight even more, you can spray your brush with a bit of Fix Plus. This is normally what I do anyway. So I do it in different ways. Sometimes I'll spray the brush and I'll go in with the product and then do it. Other times I'll spray the brush and I'll go over the product. It just depends what look I'm going for. So the brush is only slightly wet and I'm just going to gently brush it over the top of my highlight. And it just helps to emphasise it. I'm going to take some of the highlighter on a small brush. This is a MAC 242 brush. And I'm just going to add some under my brow bone as well. Because what that's going to do is it's just going to help lift the brows. You could also put a little bit just above your brows. And again, that'll just help lift it. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup because I'm actually filming another video on this eye look. And then I'll be right back. So that is everything I do to contour and highlight my face. It's just something that I love doing. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's been helpful to some of you if you struggle with contouring. Just give it a thumbs up if you did like it and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.